What it do? Eric Garza here with Eric Duttweiler.
Yo.
If you're with us, you're joining us for Locksmith Late. That's actually not on a Saturday. And we have a special reason for this particular podcast, and that is to introduce our guest for this evening. His name is Juan. And the reason why we're going to be bringing Juan on is because the Texas Locksmith Association convention should be happening in less than 2 weeks. Is that right, Eric? It's
I guess 10 days, you said?
yeah, something like that. It's the 25th through the 28th, and it is currently October 16th. So we're looking at 9 to 8 days. Am I wrong?
No.
Something like that. I fly out to Texas on Tuesday. And
You'll be there Tuesday, and I'll be there Wednesday.
Yeah, you'll be there Wednesday. I'll be helping set up and all that. What was I going to say? It's coming up really quick, and we added a new class for the convention. Let's bring Juan on, and he's going to tell us all about it. Hello, Juan.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. So I've got news that you are going to be instructing a few classes at the TLA. Is that true?
That is true. Yeah, I'm going to be doing two classes. One I believe Thursday, another one Friday, and the first one's going to be kind of an intro class to automotive. So if you're a shop that wants to get into auto but doesn't know really where to start, or you just want to figure out where to even possibly start, or that's kind of be the class for you for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the sound's not working.
Oh, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, and the second one's more in depth. If you're like an automotive locksmith that kind of you run into a lot of issues where you've done this '01 Ford before, but this other '01 Ford from a different scenario just won't program. It's kind of a checklist on what to look for in the event that you run into problems, and you want to make sure you leave with the customer being happy, on top of you getting paid. It's kind of what we're looking for, or know what to say if it is like a problem with the vehicle, besides like a big question mark or shrugging your shoulders and walking off. So that's mainly what my second class is for.
What is your second class called?
My second class is called automotive detective work, because you're going to start with the small clues that you have, and you're going to take those clues and turn into like an answer basically, or you're going to solve your case. It's kind of how I look at it when I go to a car that's a few locksmiths have been out to, or a car that's just giving myself issues. It's kind of detective work on what's going on with it.
How far into troubleshooting do you delve into, in your class? Like, do you talk about replacing BCMs and stuff like that, or is it just kind of scratching the surface of diagnostician work?
I would say like the first part of it will touch into basic stuff like wrong key. Eric had mentioned that earlier, like a wrong key. The real basic stuff at the start, and then towards the end it'll go towards what trouble code you're looking for in the body control module, engine control module, the immobilizer itself. On top of mixing the codes with physical damage. Does the car look like it was attempted to be stolen? Because there's many times where locksmith will go out and they'll tell them oh yeah, I just need a key made, but when you get there you're like, well, your whole dashboard is missing, what happened? Stuff like that, whether it be that drastic or someone just put a screwdriver to the ignition thinking they could do something. And but I will go in depth towards the end if everyone wants to hear that. So for the most part I have a set schedule for the class, but I also try to adapt it to where the students are, if they're a little bit more educated on oh, I already know this, what about this, deeper down the rabbit hole.
I feel it. That's good. Your first class, what was it? It's going to be beginner automotive.
Intro to automotive.
Intro to automotive. And tell us about that class, about where do you start on the spectrum of car keys for your class?
Yeah. So for the most part, I start with understanding where my knowledge base is with my students, and saying what do you know about auto. And I usually spend a little bit of time on that, learning from each student to see where they're at. Because in my class, it's not about who knows more or who doesn't know more. It's more about like where is everybody at collectively, and because this person might run into something that this person has run into, and solves their own problem. But I would say that it's going to be very at the start. It's going to be very like understanding where you're at your skill set and kind of building from there. So I like to go over like a lot of the tools. What are some of the basic tools? I call them tiers, right? Like if you're like tier one automotive locksmith, tier two, tier three. Tier one is like your run of the day Fords, Chevys, mid models that very simple to do that any locksmith shop or mobile shop could add to their you know uh, list of things they can provide to their customers that could turn lucrative for them in the long run. Versus tier two, which is like okay, now you have to have like a little bit more intro to EEPROM, stuff like that, and then the tier three stuff probably not going to be very much of that into the intro, but at least to know like what that category is, like pulling modules for Mercedes or for Porsches and stuff like that, where you're like not really quite there, but doesn't mean that you can't dip your toes in automotive at all. And I think that like a lot of people will see automotive and say, oh, this is such a high ceiling that like why even start here when I need to be here.
Hmm.
I think that it's okay sometimes to just add being able to do Ford, Chevys, Nissans, stuff like that to your everyday list of calls.
I appreciate your outlook on that actually, because it's kind of how I trained myself personally. Like whenever I come to think about it, it's like okay, Ford, the locks work this way, and Chrysler they work this way.
Yeah.
Kind of do a compare and contrast, and you're like, oh, that's different. And then from there. I used to call it the goal ladder.
Yeah. Yeah,
Up
that's
one
it.
rung to the other. And I've taught beginner automotive, and I joke about it. It's like you can put together the perfect class where you show them where the codes are at, how the lock works, how to cut the key, like everything they need, but they'll still bitch at you for not showing like a 2023 Land Rover.
Yep.
And it's like,
I agree.
it's intro, it's beginner,
Yep.
and they still have these unfair expectations. How do you approach that?
Usually, I mean, we'll just say, we'll touch on that subject towards the end on like why we're not touching on it now. And I'm saying, if you just follow my course and you just kind of, just roll with me through this time, of me teaching, then you'll kind of understand why I'm pushing the intro automotive more than the detective one in my second class. And it's not that I'm trying to get people to go to both my classes. That like I just set like a very expectations for each class. In the first class, I just want people to understand that like personally, with my business, I you know as much as I do a Volkswagen here and there, I'd rather do 10 Fords all day. Be in and out, do the next job, and also like I learned a lot from different mentors, and one of my mentors had taught me that like we like to do the higher end stuff so that we can get the lower end stuff when it comes to car lots and stuff like that, because your bread and butter will always be the easier stuff because you can do more per hour, I would say, versus
Mhm.
like this much time on one Mercedes. Not that we don't want to do it, we do want to do it, want to be able to say yes we can do it, but your bread and butter is going to be towards the easier stuff for sure, because it's, that's how time works, and average ticket time. So that's kind of how I would approach it, and be like it's good to want to learn this, top of the ceiling, and want to be there someday, but there's nothing wrong with starting the lower levels, easier cars, and just getting your skills up before you even attempt that could save you. So that's kind of what I'm going with, is like in the long run it'll save you like money to learn the stuff at the start, because you'll know how far you can push yourself. And I think having a limit, knowing where your limits are, is kind of a huge thing with automotive locksmithing.
What do you think
Yeah.
the limits are to automotive locksmithing? Like if it was a sport, it would be the championship game.
Yeah.
In game 7, you have a ring. What do you think is the upper echelon of like automotive locksmithing?
I would say like KVM modules, anything where you have to remove a module and solder onto it, and kind of like take that wild card of like what could go wrong. Well, a lot of things go wrong, right? Like bad power, um, just so many question marks, right? And like your job, I think, as a higher end automotive locksmith, is to like try to eliminate as much of those variables. Like having a different set of tools that'll keep your power level, from fluctuating and stuff like that. Having the right amount of power, because sometimes with these foreigns you'll hear like horror stories of someone just putting cables on a Mercedes, and they're just like, oh, the power's fine, and then like it's not fine randomly, and they're stuck having to replace modules and reprogram modules, syncing things. And I think that like something that anything that you like remove a module. I can't really think of a specific vehicle, but anything where you're removing a module and soldering onto it. What is it,
What
like
about a
cast?
Volvo?
Yeah, Volvo. I would say Volvo is probably up
I
there
just
too.
throw that out there because I just did
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
You're talking about removing modules. I hate
yeah,
those
like the
stupid
window
things.
module, or the window module where you have to like take the windshield wiper off and like stuff like that. I would say, which isn't like, I wouldn't say they're particularly hard, but there's a lot of steps involved, and you can also skip a step or forget a step, and I think that like something like that.
The irony I find with Volvo is like whenever I was learning Volvo and going through all the paces, like the elites, the gods would be like, "Oh yeah, here's how I do it," and then like once you start doing it, you're like, "Oh fucking a, I can do it." Then they start telling you, "Well, I do it through OBD with Vita," and I'm like, "Fuck,"
Yeah,
all these modules that I'm working really hard for, and I can't afford the OEM software. It's like if I could, it would be extremely easy.
yeah.
To me, it just seems so ironic.
Yeah, it is right. Like everyone, like what would you say 5 years ago? It was like EEPROM, EEPROM, EEPROM. Like everything's EEPROM, and now it's like let's do OBD. It's safer.
Yeah,
Right?
pass
Like
through. Everybody
pass
do
through.
pass
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
through.
everything is dealer
yeah,
software, dealer software, dealer
Exactly.
software.
That's why it's so fun. I think it's like automotive is like cat and mouse. Like it's always like it's like parallels. One's chasing the other. You know what I mean?
yep,
It's
yep.
always moving. There's always something happening,
There's
and
always an
it's
update
unpredictable.
of some sort. An
Yeah,
update for 10 machines or something like that. Which one
we,
does it
we thought
better?
we thought Ford active alarms were difficult, and then Toyota
Yeah,
came along, and they're like, now you need a calculation. It's
yeah,
like, fuck. All right, what's next? Nissan's throwing stuff at us now, and it just kind of makes me wonder, like, where are we going to end up in 5 years?
yeah.
Because
I think of that all the
even
time.
the cars you say are easy, that we think of as easy, like, oh, Honda's easy, Toyota's
Yeah,
easy, Ford's easy. They all have their points of where they're not so easy.
yeah. And I think
Yeah.
they changed too, right? Like 6 years ago, you could do like a HO03 Honda, and be like, oh, just pull the valet lock, cut it by code, boom, and then now you do that and you put the key in the ignition. Like this ignition's also bad, so I have to figure out how to explain that on top of that. So I think it's ever changing with like
Yeah.
vehicles wearing
Or the
down,
ignition's already been changed.
or the ignition. Yep, that's very true. And
Yeah.
they suddenly remember, oh yeah, it was two keys, and you're like, well, I don't
Yeah, I
like,
guess I never did put my key in my door. I always had a remote.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. Impressioning is a very handy skill to know. Like I've started having to do the Tibby keys like that, like Jags and stuff like that. And I notice I have to hand file a little bit of them just to give them a little bit of a relief, to turn the locks.
Yeah, give them a little love.
Yeah.
So Seth Banks says, I'm just getting started and already feel in over my head. Any advice for that fella?
Yeah. Well, one, you take my class, but no, that's really like legit advice would be, take it slow. One of the first things to do would be like with the phone calls you get, write down every automotive call you get that comes in, and at the end of your day, be like, okay, this is what I had. I had this many Fords, this many Chevys. These are, I would say are in the easier bracket to do, and just kind of build your arsenal up, your tools around that, right? If you're getting a lot of Fords and Chevys, invest in a machine that and that you've seen perform like really well in that bracket. There's no reason to like look at the whole spectrum and be like, I need this for later, this for now, maybe this. Take what the phone calls you get in and build around that.
Yeah, that's good advice. Like you're getting like regular ass cars every day.
Yeah.
Don't go looking to buy the Tango and Mini ACDP because you don't need it.
Yeah, I agree. So you've been doing, it says you've been doing commercial work.
Here, I'll pump it up. So here's what he says. He says, I've been in the commercial door business for 7 years now, but I travel for work. So my goal is to start my own mobile shop by beginning of year to get off the road. I'm trying to learn all I can. And then he says he is currently picking locks in his hotel room. I hope you have permission to pick those locks that you're picking. I second Juan's advice. When I first started, I started just out of my, the grit of my heart. So it was like people would call, and the first car key I made was like a 1999 Ford Mustang, and I had no tools. I had a couple of machines, but no keys, no nothing. And I had AutoSmart, and 1999 Ford Mustang, and I go searching for it. I'm like, I need that key, that tool, and I tell them it'd be 2 weeks until I can get to them. So I would order my tools, and then I'd go practice out of their car. I'm not recommending that, but that's kind of what I did. Built each of my my tool repertoire up like as each job went along. And steadily, I had a war chest, full of valuable equipment that I still use to this day. So
it's very good view on that. I
piece by
completely
piece.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the basic research, like Jared had said before, your vendors, they want to sell you shit. So, that was when, before I got, just kind of a mental Rolodex in my head of somebody calls your make model. And I now know, I didn't always, obviously. I go to your favorite vendor online, key vendor, your make model, and they're going to pull up the keys, it's going to tell you what you need. It's going to tell you which leashy, all that shit.
Yeah, tells you kind of way more information now than there was. I mean, just be just books now,
Exactly. Like we're spoiled as shit today. We don't need to carry those books like the guys of yesterday did.
Well, we talked about that, you and I, Eric.
Yeah.
And that's kind of contentious to me because, like, sure, we have information more readily available at our fingertips and shit, but also like Facebook, as we see a lot of misinformation and wrong information. And so, like, if these people don't know how to properly search, they find the wrong information,
Yeah.
Well, they technically have more wrong information at their fingertips also.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
So it's kind of, it's ironic, it's like back in the day, there was less information out, but it was more concise, more accurate. And nowadays we have way too much information, and it's ridiculous. Like the plunger on a car lock or a tennis ball on a car lock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many customers have actually told you they've tried that? I've had many.
Oh, different tricks, like if I put wax on this, I'm like, please don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't stick it in your fucking lock.
Yeah.
If I put a glue stick in my lock, it'll pull the key out.
Yeah. My class is in person. I haven't really visited the thought yet of doing an online class, but maybe sometime in the future, if I can get somebody to kind of walk me through that or figure out how to go about it. But for now, it's just in person through TLA. But I believe Jareth can the online part.
Yeah, I do online, and if Juan wants to, we're thinking about offering. I don't. We haven't worded it properly, but if you wanted to put some classes up on our platform, and you make the money, we could just like $5 per sale. We're willing to do that, and that'll really stretch out the availability of what you can offer. I want to know, you're talking about your second class. You're not pumping people towards it. You want them to go to beginners automotive. They're going to get a more healthy grounding and understanding of where they're at. To those whom you want to attend your second class, tell me about it. What are you going to discuss? What's in it?
For the most part, like you're saying, it's a beginner could go to that and take really good notes and learn things on like what to look for, because I think there won't be so much knowledge where you're just be over your head on it, but I think that like it's mainly geared for someone who's maybe been doing it a couple years here and there, does a lot of the easy stuff, but then is like, well, these Fords I've been doing, these Chevys, these Nissans I've been doing, I've run into one here and there that gives me a lot of issues, and I just kind of walk away. And the goal of that class is to like not have you spinning your wheels all day, but like giving you a path of like a checklist almost of like what to look for. Yeah, the confidence to be like, okay, this is what's wrong with their car, and you can like confidently tell your
this is how we prove it.
Yes.
Yeah. You're kind of giving them the outline of contingency plan, like a backup plan with a backup plan. Like this is how we back ourselves up, essentially.
Yeah.
You know.
And it also, I'm going to teach like time management as an automotive locksmith, which I feel like if you're on the road, like sometimes you're like, I have this many cars. If they all go well, I can do them all. If one of them goes bad, it's a cascading effect, right? So
Mhm.
I'm gonna teach a little bit of triage with that. Like, okay, sometimes you can show up and be like, okay, I think there's something wrong with, there's a power issue. If a car has a power issue and I'm like in a parking garage on the 4th floor, my jump box is dead. If the customer's in a hurry, I'll try to make something, work. But if they don't tell me any of this stuff and I'm just getting there, or they just didn't know, or they gave me the misinformation, I have to know like when it's okay to pull off to make sure your other customers are taken care of, and keep moving on. Or like, hey, this is a power issue. I needed to have power with this, for this reason, this reason, this reason. Or hey, your ignition's missing, so this is more than what I originally came out to do. So this is something I can take care of, but I will have to come back if you don't have the parts, or if you don't have the time, if you didn't have a allotted time for that. So I do want to go over that too, because I feel like some automotive locksmiths will just stay there all day and spin their wheels, and then they'll lose everything else that they've done. It's like a cascading effect of just bad, right? It's better to kind of like pick your battles a little bit better,
Yeah.
I would
Me
say.
and Paul talked about that.
Yeah.
Allocating how much time we allocate per job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
His is like 3 to 4 times the amount.
Yeah.
That's mine, but yeah, me and him actually had a whole discussion about that one time.
Yeah, and I think everybody's time is a little bit different. Like some people will say like, "Oh, I have 30 minutes, I have an hour," and I'm like, "Wow, you must be moving pretty quick." And I think it just kind of depends on where you're at with your skill set or confidence, and like how well this job is going to go. Because for me, when I get a vehicle, in my head I'm like, best case, worst case, absolute worst case like scenario. After talking to the customer, and like, because for the most part, the amount of times I go to a call where they're like, "Yeah, I just lost the key." That's it. Very few of those. Usually like, yeah, I lost the key by the river, and my car's parked some weird place that I can't give you directions, but I can lead you down. It's weird stuff like that will just really eat into your time throughout the day. So
That's totally true. That's
yeah.
totally true. Yeah, because like I was telling Eric, it's like he doesn't really do a lot of residential, and I'll pick it up when I'm slow. And the reason why I don't do residential when I'm busy with auto is like somebody wants me to rekey a house. It's hard for me to collect 250 from that one job. But if somebody loses a car key all day, every day, 250, and I can earn that 250, and sometimes it's like strong as 10 minutes, or less. Like let's say it's a fobic, fucking 7 cuts on the key. You don't really have to worry about the 8th. You throw that down the pipe and program it, you're done. And whereas a house, you have to deal with 100-year issues, that grandfather, father, and son have tried to fix. And then once you rekey the lock, they want you to fix the other shit. And you're like, that's not what I'm here for,
Yeah.
So your time management.
I called you to rekey my door. Now it don't shut right.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
still squeaks. I still have to pull up on it. It's like, well, I have to adjust the hinges, the strike, and actually you need a whole new jam because it's been kicked in from the police, So
Yeah.
it's like,
that whole thing. That was, I do residential and commercial as well, but I try to be a little, I wouldn't say choosy, but I try to like give myself way
efficient.
more time than needed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I'm not going to take the job that takes 2 hours and they only want to pay me $50. I'm going to take the job that takes 10 minutes and they want to pay me all their money. That's what I would prefer to take. So
I also try to give them a
Yeah.
different time slot where I'm like, well, these are my peak days. One thing that I do with my business is I track my peak days really really well to make sure like, okay, Wednesday is I would say personally my Wednesday is my slowest day of the week. Like I get a couple calls here and there, but Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays are like my big days. And so I try to do commercial jobs, residential jobs on those days if they can wait. If not, I mean, I have such a big community like in the area around me, mentors and colleagues around me that we all kind of like help each other out with stuff like that. Like, hey, I got this call. Can you do it? I can't do it, but they're, a friend of a friend of a friend or a customer's friend or something like that, where I want to keep good graces and I don't want to like be the guy that like said no, but we kind of like help each other out with that.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Where do you service? Or you're in Texas, right?
Yes, I'm in Austin. I'm in South Austin. Yeah, I guess I didn't really do an intro to myself. I didn't really go into
No,
that,
it's all
but
good.
yeah. So yeah, I'm in South Austin. But yeah, I kind of service all over Central Texas from like Dallas to like San Antonio. Have yeah, something like that. I kind of go east and west a little bit, but for the most part, that's kind of as far as I will kind of travel.
Are you a new startup or is it part of a family venture?
My company. So
Yeah.
so I worked for like a pretty big company when I first started, and I kind of started there doing basic residential commercial automotive commercial, and then I left there and I started working under my one of my mentor. I consider him a mentor, big mentor. Kind of taught me to go past the easy stuff to the more advanced stuff. And yeah, I've worked with under him for since 2017. And as of now, I still do have like I still contract with him from time to time, like or weekly I would say. But also I have my own like company as well. So, but for the most part, part of like two company I would say contractor, and then I own my own. But yeah,
What do you think makes a good instructor for locksmiths?
I think good instructor. I would say someone who can like listen to different stories, and kind of I wouldn't say build a curriculum around your current students, but know where to veer off just a little bit to kind of help their specific needs, and then come back to your like curriculum, right? Because at the end of the day, you have all this knowledge that you're trying to push out, and you can't go down the whole rabbit hole of like war stories. I would say for like locksmithing, because in the end they're supposed to take your tools that you taught them and apply it to what they're going to run into in the future or what they've run into in the past, and they're supposed to cross-reference themselves. So I think that like being able to give your students as an instructor answers to stuff that might have happened in the past that they can kind of figure out on their own, because if they can't figure it out on their own, then you kind of didn't like teach them enough problem solving as part of it.
They're always dependent on somebody else or
Exactly.
something else. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
How
I
long,
would say that.
how long have you been a locksmith?
Let me see, going on 10 years now, I would say.
Okay.
So
Automotive, you've been kind of doing it always.
always, yeah, I always
Light touch
dabbled
at
in it.
first and then a heavy touch now, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
most of my business is automotive, I would say. But yeah, but for the most part, yeah, I've always done something in automotive. I mean, I started out, I think, with like hand filing keys or clipping keys, with no power in a van. Like when I first started, the very first company I worked for, and then I moved up into like like a ride 10, and like that's when high security machines were like really hard to come by. Now
Yeah.
yeah, they're kind of easy
And they
now.
had so many different designs too. It's
Yep.
like, do you remember the HPC Big Groove?
I, is that the duplicator, or was that the
It was a duplicator, and
that you had the little clips
it
that
had a
went down?
swivel head. Like
Yeah.
the head would swivel, and it's like it's
Yep.
the craziest thing ever because
I do
precision
remember
lighting.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had so many. Over your 10-year career, I want to know. Like, you seem like you got a decent head on your shoulders. What has locksmithing taught you over 10 years?
A lot of patience, right? Like I think patience has been the biggest thing, whether you're in commercial, residential, or automotive. You have to have patience to problem solve, because if you immediately start freaking out and like, oh, I'm here, um, then you're not gonna really get to where you need to be. Like I would say, like you're just gonna be stuck in this mindset. I messed up. I messed up. Messed up. So patience, I think, that's really what I've learned the most of. Because I mean, you drop one little C clip sometimes, and you're like, well, this is a day now. Like,
Yes, it is. Yep.
so I think
And
patience. Yeah.
that's what I learned. If I had to pull or extrapolate one lesson, it's like you can never expect what you want to expect.
Yeah.
It's like you go up to a job. Eric's been with me on the phone. I'm like, it's gonna be 10-minute job. I'm gonna make $350, and then like 2 hours later, I'm like, I should have not taken this fucking job. It's
Yeah.
ruined my day. I'm homicidal at this point. I
It's
just
always
want
a
to go
Saturday
home.
job too. Saturday at
Yeah,
like 3, and you're like, well, I'm in this parking garage. It's getting
and I,
dark.
I probably have to pee or something because I thought it was going to be quick and easy.
Yeah.
So
It's always the last job of the day for me.
It's always the last
Yeah.
job. It's the first or the last, and you're like, well,
that's what
If it's the first job, I'm just going fucking home.
yeah.
Call
Get this thing
everybody
done.
else. Sorry, can't do it today.
Yeah. I would say patience. I'd also say like accepting change has been like a really big thing with locksmithing, because whether it be like we were saying earlier, like the technology jumps, or sometimes you're just like slow for a week, like, and you just have to accept like, okay, well, what can I do to like not be slow this next week? Like, what am I doing wrong? But sometimes there's, it just goes in waves, especially as an automotive locksmith. It could be, pretty, you can go to a drought for a couple of days sometimes, and you're like, well, what happened? And then the days after that, you're like, wow, I'm booked for like 12 hours straight today. Okay. So I think accepting that, and like change and patience is like the biggest thing for a locksmith overall.
Do you ever get this weird phenomenon where like you'll have like a Chrysler week where every call seems to be like a fobic or something like that?
Yeah.
You're like, damn, I'm running through my fobics, and then like the next week it's like Sienna proximity remotes, and you have never sold one, and now you need 3, and you're like, what's going on? And then you never see another afterwards. Do you experience that?
Recently, the same thing happened with the fobics probably a month ago, and I was just doing like a fobic, like 2 or 3 a day, and I was like, what is this? And then I ordered a bunch more to replenish my stock. Haven't sold one since.
Yeah.
So
that's something similar. It's like I depleted my RAM fobics, and I was like, I don't think I need to order any for a while. And then I got like a call of 5, and they're like, we need them right now. And I was like, shit.
Yep.
So
mine
I
was
don't know.
Subaru proxies too, like the Subaru proxies, the push to
Yeah.
start. I needed like 6 of them in 1 week, and then like now I have like 3 or 4 floating. Haven't sold them since.
See, apparently it's a common phenomenon. It's like that.
Yep.
You know, you never see the car.
F-150s for me. I'll get like 10 F-150s in a day.
Yeah.
And then it'll string on for. I'm like, God, dude, like I'll order like 50 fucking keys to replenish them and have all these F-150 keys, and then it'll be like 2 months. I won't touch a Ford.
Yep. Or the remote start one. I won't see a remote start one for like 3 or 4 months, and I have like 5 of them. I'm like, well, I'd like to sell one of these.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does happen actually. It happens quite frequently, especially like lately. It's been a lot of that. So I'm sitting on a lot of stock right now.
So you have your beginner or intro to auto, whatever it is. I'm terrible with remembering titles. You have your
intro to auto, yeah.
Intro to auto, and you have your detective class.
Yes.
Would you, at your level right now, somebody calls for a 2016 Nissan Rogue push to start, what do you do?
Immediately I'm gonna go look at what the key options are, just to see like pricing. So like if you're a customer that called me on there, I would go to one of my distributors. I would look it up. Let me see. Nissan. You said 16 Rogue?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would look it up. And I would like at first I would get like an option of like how much these keys cost. But I think these are like problem childs, right?
Yeah, my man said run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I've laid a trap for you. I want to see what you would do for one of those persnickety little fuckers. I got a call today actually.
I do remember these actually. So yeah. So another thing I would do is like in my book I have notes of like car like careful this and that. Like I actually write in my books because sometimes they don't like tell you. I think for the Rogue in particular, right? Like then there's the one that like just bricks like the ECM something just bricks on it or something. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, it's a BCM. Mm-hmm.
Yep, the BCM bricks. So I actually ran into one of these 3 or 4 months ago, and this is what was like a risky thing. The guy had a key. He'd been calling around, and he wanted another one, and
spare key.
Just a spare key, and I was like, I don't know. Like I ended up passing on it. Well, I didn't pass on it. I told him the whole scenario of what could happen, and he was like, "We'll just wait." And I was kind of fine with like leaving that as that, and he wasn't upset about it because I had the information on why,
I had the Nissan dealership call me like 2 or 3 years ago, and they were like, "Hey, we need you to come out here and program a car key." And I'm like, "What is it?" I was like, "Is it a Nissan?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why do you need me to program it?" And they're like, "Oh, we just we can't do this one." I was like, what is it? And they're like, it's a 2015 Nissan Rogue. And I was like, is it a push to start? And they're like, yeah, proximity.
Yep.
I was like, what the? I was like, that's a trap. I was like, no, you
Yeah.
program it. And they were like, oh no, we can't do it. I was like, no,
Yeah.
that it seemed like a total trap to me. And I'll be honest with you, I bricked one. It was like the first year that they were out, and I used a smart box. It wasn't anything shady.
Yeah.
It was a smart box OEM key from Locksmith Resource. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just laying it
They're
out
just
there.
problem childs, right? Like the
Yeah.
scenario. Yeah. Just
And so like you go out to program it. It was for Enterprise, and they had trailered it to the Enterprise location. And I was like, fuck it, I'll try it as long as you guys admonish me of liability. And they're like, why would we do that? I'm like, it's been put on a flatbed. I'm not the first person to touch it. I can't guarantee the results. They were like, okay. I was like, okay. So I go out there, and all programming seems normal until you turn off the you press the button to turn off the cluster, and it's like the digital display wanes, but it's still backlit.
Yep.
Like it's still backlit, like, and you're like, hold on a second. And then after that, any button press issues no response from the vehicle. It does nothing. It's just that quick. It's all good, and then all of a sudden it does nothing. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Boom, she's bricked.
Yeah, I'd asked my mentor about that. I was like, I thought it was 15 for some reason, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it was like
It's 14 through 18, I think is what it is.
Yeah. And it was because there wasn't, most of the ones I've run into were all like keyed ignition or something like that. That was like,
well, keyed ignition don't have that issue.
yeah. So it wasn't anything, but that one went off, and I was like, well, I think this guy has a key. So I ended up talking to him about it, and odd thing is, like, periodically for like a couple weeks, he'd be like, "Are you sure there's nothing you can do?" I was so he kept like teasing me for it, or like trying to trap me again. I was like, I'd rather not brick this body control module or anything like that.
He was issuing a challenge to you.
Yeah, I know. And like I had told him, I think at one point I was like, well, I have like liability waivers and stuff like that. If it's like problem cars, like here's the liability waiver because I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm going to jump in on this comment. Brian, I've never heard 12 to 16. I've heard 14 through 17 and 14 through 18. I've also heard 14 and 16. So I've never heard 12. Never heard 12.
I think there's a few programmers will have a message that pops up too that'll say,
yeah,
like,
they'll put the BCM label. It'll be like known issues of BCM ID through this BCM ID. But then it begs the question of, hey, where's the BCM located in this car? Because people are always going to ask that question.
Yeah.
So a new student joins your class, and he asks, what should I do if someone has one of those cars? Would you recommend that he takes the job or walks?
I would first like tell him to look at their option. Personally, if it's like an ad key, like what I ran into, I did not want to take the job, unless he signed like a big liability waiver. But I also recommended, what was that?
Explain the difference between like that situation where you're going up to a car that already starts versus.
Yeah. So the first situation, like they have a key that already starts the vehicle. They can drive it. Nothing worse than like, someone having a key and they're driving it and they're like, great, I'm getting another key. And then they can't drive it. That's like, that's just not great. So in that scenario that I was in, I told him like, personally, I don't think it's worth the risk. If you have a key, you're gonna be in the same situation you're now if you don't have a key, but at least you don't have to risk it like now. But later on, you might have to, or you might, you can visit that road later. Now, I actually have programmed one, but it was at like a tow lot of like a bunch of repo cars. It wasn't in the best shape. But I still went down the spiel with the owner of the lot. I said, hey, these are problem vehicles. I can attempt to do this, but just know that it could cause further issues down the road. It could lock up the PCM. Stuff could go really bad. And it's up to you if you want me to do it. But also sign this paper because I don't want to be liable for it. And she had told me, she was like, just go for it. I mean, the car is kind of a piece of junk anyways. Like, we'll see what happens. Program fine, nothing happened, but I believe this one was like a late model 15, like 12, 15 or something like 15 or something like that. So I think it was a 16. So so it set that alarm off. But yeah, most of the like problem vehicles like this though, like I make notes that I have in all my books. All my books are like pretty marked up with like, hey, I ran into this or this. So I always check my books unless of course like an 09 Ford. Then I'm like, oh, there's nothing to put in that besides like a home run, like. But like if there's something that I can't remember, especially like Nissan or Hondas or something like that, I just like try to look it up to say, oh, this could be an issue. Particularly with Honda like proxies, I have like a note that says like, make sure you do the steps fluidly and make sure the keys are away at a certain distance and stuff like that, or whatever.
What book do you make annotations in?
I use the Auto Smarts, but I also have the transponder book as well. But most of my notes go into the Auto Smart simply because there's more room to like fit things in there. That's pretty much the only reason. So.
It's really funny. When I first started, I did the same thing. I would put I'd put which programmer that I used.
Yeah, that's
know it was successful.
Yeah.
Because like Auto Smart would be like MVP, Pro, and it would say T code, and then it would say something else, and I was like, CK100, SKP 900.
Yeah.
Those all worked. So.
I think now they have little like check marks of like reported incidents of where it did work, but I still add I do add notes from that. I'm just like don't use this, so I'll add that too. Like this didn't communicate at all, something like that. I mean like most automotive locksmiths have tons of tools, right? If you try to put everything into one tool, you're probably not gonna get as much success than having a majority of tools in your arsenal. It's like bringing a screwdriver and you need a flathead.
I had a Jaguar one time. Wouldn't take a remote. It's one I've done a million of them. The IK820 of all things. Put that car in the program mode to take the remote.
Yeah, there was I had a tool like that where like I couldn't get a remote into a Jeep or something like that. Like nothing would work for this like old Jeep, and I used like a MVP or something, and it just tossed it right in.
Don't lie. It was a CK100, wasn't it?
No, I have one, but like I never use it. I'm not like against using like different tools unless it's been reported like, oh, this is a problem. It's been bricking vehicles or it's been doing that. Then I try to like not to, or I like to read in depth of like what's going on with it. But I'm not one of those like automotive locksmiths like you only use this tool and this tool only. I think that's like setting yourself up to fail, really.
Good. And I've been picking it up from you, and that's what I'm starting to like is you're actually a problem solver. You're somebody who's in the thick of it, who has definitely seen some shit and dealt with shit. So a lot of times I see like these people to throw someone under the bus or not. No, I see instructors who will just, it's a sales pitch, their entire class. You need this tool. And I'll give an example. They had an EIS on the table, and they're like, all right, we're gonna put it together. We're gonna put our tool on it. We're gonna walk away until it's done. And a question was asked, and it was like, how long do we have to wait? And the guy was like, until it's done. It's like, how long? He said anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 hours. Another hand went up and said, how come we just don't EEPROM it? And the guy said, well, we can't do that with this tool, so we're only going to talk about this. And I was like,
yeah.
And that my friend told me the story, and he, from his perspective, he says, that's where I walked out of the class. Because he just
I know who you're talking about too. I said I know who you're talking about.
I think it's good to like show different paths you could take. Because, so also another thing I think of when I go to a car, I think of the different paths that I could take. I could do it like this, this, or this, or this, or this. And I think it's okay in a class.
Yeah, he's just like us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's okay in a class to say, hey, you could do it like this. This is what to expect. But at the moment, we're going to learn this way because this is the way that I'm comfortable with doing it. But if like you go down the rabbit hole and you want to take this road instead of this road, at the end of the day, if you're going to reach your destination, the car's not bricked, the customer's happy, I don't really see a problem with that. Like,
that was literally our first class at TLA. Was we taught multiple
varying routes.
Different routes. Yeah, varying routes to success.
Yep. Yeah. I think there's multiple routes, and I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have multiple mentors that have kind of taught me different things. I've just pulled knowledge from all of them. And my first mentor, she taught me a lot of I would say like the customer, like helping the customer aspect on top of like a lot of the basics. I'm like, hey, don't pass it. She would tell me like, don't pass on the basics. You have to learn this stuff in order to succeed. And then my second mentor, he's more of a route locksmith. Even to this day, if I'm like, hey, I'm sending you this car, it's more up your alley, from what you want to do, because he's completely, set up for everything, OEM tools to like everything. So he's gone down the rabbit hole a lot. He'll tell me like, hey, we could do it like this, or like this, but most likely I'm gonna do it like that. And I think I have that mentality because that's kind of what he taught me when I was under his wing. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that some people are stuck on selling one tool in particular, whatever their reason is. It's not my business what the reason is, but sometimes it's like you can see, like you were saying, like
it's a bias. And
yeah.
One great example that me and Eric can jump into is like Eric on Type 2 VPW. He always knows that I'll have my AR-32 just waiting because I can never pull the damn pin codes with the programmers. It's always like, oh, this function is not supported. And Eric will be like, he'll send me a picture of got another, pulled this one, pulled that one. And I'm like, son of a bitch. He gets them all easily where I have to do EEPROM, and it's a microcontroller,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah, half the time these people will be like, oh, you're fucking stupid for even doing that. It's like, well, I don't want to buy the pin code. That's a route. Yes, it's a route. But if I'm fully capable of pulling the pin code through EEPROM, in circuit without lifting a leg, why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's for a while I think I was using the Z.
I only had 2 failures, by the way.
Oh yeah. I've
2 times where it didn't pull the pin.
It's all for me. It always happens when I'm like in the middle of nowhere on some Jeep, and I'm like, well, here we are.
Yeah.
In
it always field. Seems to be a Jeep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a Jeep. Yeah.
Jeep Cherokee or Gen 1 fucking Liberty. It's like, just give it to me, please.
Yeah. I have to drive another hour that way, right? It's like. Yeah, I agree. It's always one of those like that. But I think there's but having the knowledge, right? Where like knowing, okay, I could probably get this OBD, or I can, just EEPROM it and get it. There's some days where I'm like in that mentality where I'm like, I know this is for sure going to be 30 minutes. Could be 12 minutes, but this is for sure going to be 30 minutes. I'm going to dedicate to that because that's the time I have for it. Yeah. I think that's where like having the
experience,
the experience to know like, do I want to risk being here or being like, oh, this didn't work for this 12 minutes or whatever, and then now I have to do the EEPROM or other way anyways, like just knowing like to pick which battle. And I don't think there's like a wrong road, but like sometimes that one road you take loops around to the same road anyways, and there's just nothing you can do. It could just be how the car is, like, something,
especially sometimes you have to make that decision when it's a far away job. Like if I go I don't know, somebody calls me for a Mercedes and it's like an hour away. Absolutely, I'm going to quote high and I'm going to leave extra time on the table.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get there and most likely I'm just going to EEPROM it because I know 1,000,000% that's going to give me the result I want, as opposed to logging in, waiting on the Autel servers or whatever OBD and calculating password. And next thing you know, it's like 45 minutes. 60 minutes have gone by. You're still tapping your thumbs. You get to 70 minutes, and then it's like, hey, failed to acquire data. Fuck yourself. Well, glad I wasted all that time.
Yep. So I agree.
Yeah, I might try that route 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
But an hour away, I'm going to EEPROM it.
Yeah, just like what Jared said. Buy them all. I mean,
Yeah.
Buy them all. I like both those tools. So personally,
I used
both those tools.
I used Auto. I haven't used IK820 in a couple of years, I think, but Auto ProPad. Lately, I've been using it on Nissan and Infiniti slot keys. The proximity slot keys, because Autel. I don't know what happened, but some update occurred. Now it tells you to pull the slot key out in the middle of programming, and it turns off the cluster, and it tells you to put it back in. I've never seen that in 10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm used to turning the button off and on, and Auto ProPad still does that. So You know, I've had trouble programming proximity slot keys with the Autel lately,
Yeah.
which is weird because it used to work flawlessly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eric,
I've noticed that with a couple things too. There was like I think it was like a ProMaster like a few years back. The Zedfold put out some weird update, and like me and my mentor were just like, well, this is different. Like, and it just
yeah,
was failing. We had to like skip a step or something. And we had to like keep the key on. It was just weird. And then it got fixed eventually. But
Eric's X-Horse Dolphin machine went through an update. Now it doesn't cut HU 101.
that happened to one of my coworkers.
Yeah.
Like, same thing happened.
So I used to cut it on the A side of the clamp,
Mm-hmm.
and then they changed the update, and it says to flip it over, cut on the B side.
Yep.
It'll cut the first half of it, but then when you turn the key over and you try to reclamp it,
Is this
it'll
the
just
like
pop
Condor
out.
2, the Condor 2 or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Dolphin.
yeah,
Yeah,
Condor.
it did that to me with the VW one time. Like, it just
Maybe
wouldn't
it's
cut it.
fixed now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that machine's still in my van, but I bought what did I get, Jared? The 3D Extreme.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought it secondhand and got a good deal on it, and I've been using it for pretty much everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I use that pretty much for like all the high security stuff, as much as I can for everything else, pack a punch for edge cut, and then other edge cut like Hyundais and stuff that I don't have the vices for my pack a punch. I will use my X-Horse for that because it does do it pretty well.
I still favor my
3D
1200 a lot.
The 3D Extreme, it's kind of weird about edge cut keys. It'll say put it in this
Yeah.
clamp or put it in this jaw, and like it never really seems to work all that well. But
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I use for my like single-sided stuff or double-sided. I use my 1200 a lot. I don't know why, but it's kind of how I was taught. So I'm kind of just like, I know this other machine will cut it, automatically, but I just prefer the feel of like moving it and feeling the cuts these days. So
How come? Okay, I probably know the answer. It's because it was what you were exposed to. How come you use the Blitz and not the Framing?
that thing, that's literally it. I actually almost bought a Framing just because I was like, well, I'm gonna have both, but like I just never.
It's
Yeah.
like God. I feel like a religious person whenever suddenly the code cutter argument gets brought up.
yeah,
I'm like, you know how great my God is. You know,
Right.
it's so much better than your God. You know,
who's preaching the Bible today?
yeah, I know. You're missing all this glory over here. Yeah,
I definitely wanted one. I just haven't gotten around to it. I like see them. I like just look at them, and I'm like,
Well, you know the
My
good thing
X-Horse will
about
do that too on carbon keys.
yeah.
the good thing about a Framing is they're so unpopular that whenever someone sells it, they never get anywhere near what they paid. So you
Okay.
always get a good deal on a used Framing. You know,
I paid $500 for both my framings.
Yeah.
I've gotten Framings for like $250 shipped because people were just like, I'm tired of this fucking monster. Yeah,
Yeah.
take it.
I would get one. I just like haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. I've been like, working,
So,
I guess. That's what I
You
got.
won't regret it. You won't.
Yeah,
regret
I know I won't. I look at them probably like once or twice a month. I'm like, soon I'll do it. I'll buy this, and I end up buying something else that I like needed to progress more. And I'm like, oh man, but at the framing next month, it's been like that for a while now. So
this man said ITL. Get out now. Leave.
it.
Get out of here.
oh,
ITL
that-
is actually pretty cool, but the company, they will not service machines past a certain date. They're like the Ford of key machine companies. It's like 10 years old, we don't service it, So
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
the first company, or I guess technically the second company I worked for, did ITL, and I
And they're
remember
Canadian.
using it. What was it?
They're also Canadian.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I don't know much about that company. We had one in the second locksmith shop I worked in, and
I don't know much about it either.
yeah, they use it. They had to use it. It was like the biaxial one that would like cut Medico and stuff like that. That's mainly what they used it for.
Yeah.
And I tried to cut like a car key on one time there, and I thought they were gonna like throw me out. So, but that was back then.
So you are going to be in Texas. You have two classes. They're both all day, right? 8 hours.
I believe the first one is, I think they're 4-hour classes. I can double check, but I believe they're 4-hour classes. Let me see. I have it in my calendar. Yeah, they're both of them are 4-hour classes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think we were gonna go with 4 just to kind of get something. I can do a lot with 4 hours. I did the detective one as an 8-hour class, but a lot of times it became like a like war story thing, and like people were just telling me, what did I do about this thing that happened 6 years ago? And I was like, well, where are all the details? And they couldn't remember all the details, so then it would like get muddied. So I'm gonna try to avoid that. Of course, I'm gonna listen to like specific situations. But for that class, it's hard to like hone in on like what exactly happened on like a call years back. And for me, I like to be like, well, this is what to expect on it moving forward from now on. So like a
Even
checklist.
even even if it happened 3 days ago,
Yeah. I would say that like
you're not going to know. You know what I mean? You weren't there.
If you
yeah,
can't do any live testing, and
yeah,
troubleshoot,
Yeah,
then it's all a
exactly,
mystery anyways. So
exactly. It's
exactly.
if it's a call, they're like, hey, I'm supposed to come back, on Monday because it happened Wednesday and they told me to come back Monday. Probably visit that and be like, all right, this is what you should do or this is what you should expect. Ideally, that'd be actually a good question to like have is like,
Yeah,
what do I do? This happened Wednesday. Today's Friday. What can I do on Monday? That would be something I would probably deep dive into.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, that's for the most part. The 4-hour classes, they're both very beneficial. I think even to intro automotive tech, you'll definitely pull some good skills out of that. So,
are you going to compete in the lock picking contest?
um, I haven't really looked into it. I actually have a lot going on right now, so I haven't been super involved with what's going on at TLA. Um, Amanda's kept me in the loop a lot, but I just have so much stuff going on this month that probably not. But what's the gist of it? Is it just like leashy picking or just picking in general?
Leashy.
Leashy. Okay.
So, we want to do. I won't discuss it on air. Everybody steals my ideas. But this one is just residential leashy for now. So,
Okay.
it's gonna be 4 competitors at a time. Anna, hello. 4
Hello.
competitors at a time, and I think there's going to be quite a few competitors. But this time we're giving away a belt.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be kind of neat. Let me see
That
if I can
sounds
pull it
interesting.
quickly.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. That'd be interesting. I will say I'm probably not the fastest leashy picker, but I will say I think my skill with leashy is that like accurately, usually on the first go around, like I can tell like the wear and tear pretty easy or by the feel. But most of the people I've taught how to leashy are all better than me at this point. So, you know,
Let's see. I'm going to try to get my computer to cooperate with me.
Hofstadler just posted a picture
Did he?
recently.
Save to downloads.
Did you pull it or did you find it?
Pulling.
Okay. Where the hell? I don't know. I don't know what damn group it was in. I know. That was one of these.
Okay. Well, Eric, I'm going to send it to you because you are better at screen sharing than I am. Right now, I don't have my second monitor.
Okay. Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah. Well, let's just wait for the computer to take forever, yeah?
this will be a belt this year, huh? I definitely would like to watch it.
There we go.
For
There
sure. I
we
don't know if
go.
I'll compete this year, but I'm not like I said, I'm not a very fast leashy picker, but I definitely like my strong point is being able to read them. It'd be surprised how many people like I'm teaching how to leashy and it just takes them so long to understand the like reading part of it because of the lines going, you know, up and down, like which way to read them. Let's see this belt. Oh, that's
There we go.
pretty cool.
Shit. How do I do that? There we go.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm
Texas
super.
Sponsored by
Locksmith
Lockjaw. Very cool.
Association. Yeah.
Go down
Yeah.
the side. Go down the side. The other side. It has 2023 all the way around it.
Oh,
It's
that's
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool. So it's all residential leashes.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I'll
Yeah, it's
openly
pretty cool. I like
That is
it.
pretty cool.
I'll openly discuss this. We're like, it's like, how do you organize the perfect event? And I don't think there is a perfect event. I think it should be separated into like commercial for like best, mailbox locks and stuff like that, like SC4. Then you get your residential together, and then you can do your automotive together.
Yeah. I think
And
automotive is a different type of like leash you pick
it's a
into.
completely different animal because we
Yeah.
got high security, edge cut, etc. But I also want to do, fuck it, we'll talk about it. I also want to do an open category where it's dealer's choice, bump keys, lock picks, rakes, leashy, pick guns, etc. And
Okay.
that will ultimately prove the ultimate badass. Like, who's the fastest?
Yeah.
We don't care about anything but getting
Entry.
hit. Yes,
Yeah.
injury.
Entry is like
And
it.
so that I would open class is where I would be at, because I'd want to explore how physically fast one can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And automotive is, like you said, it's about precision. You
Yeah.
don't want to miscut a $300 key.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fair. Yeah, precision is like the biggest thing. I think that'd be like a cool category too, right? With automotive is like how good is this key? Like how accurate? Like you get one try to like cut this key real quick and make it work on this lock. So I think that'd be a cool one too.
Eric said something funny. He was like, "Man," he's like, "I cut this HU 101 and it turned so smoothly in the door lock, it felt like it was empty." And I was like, "That's something only a locksmith would talk
Yeah.
about." You know? I was like, your customer would never grab that key and be like, "Oh, this damnest smoothest key I've ever had in my life."
Yeah.
But in our heads, we're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
smooth."
It
So,
was too, man. It was.
Yeah. I know exactly what
2018
you mean.
F350. That bitch was smooth, boy. I was like, man, it's like the cylinder's got nothing in it, but I know it is because it's what I used to make the key with.
I'm just turning air at this point. Yeah.
oh my
Like
God. I could turn
yeah.
it with my teeth and it wouldn't even hurt. Oh,
Yeah. You just like flick it and it just turns. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
had stuff
Yeah.
like that where I just like turn it. I'm like, I did real good. I'm like,
yeah. You're like Salt Bay turning it. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Effortless.
Like my robot did a good job.
Well, we're up on an
Yeah.
hour in 3 minutes, Juan.
Nice. All right.
Tell us something you want to say before you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hopeful, people can come to my class. There's a lot to learn from the class. I don't have tons of years, 20, 30 plus years, but I think I was part of this like new generation of locksmith that were kind of raised or taught in different avenues, not just being stuck in, one way of doing things. And I was taught about the big community aspect of locksmithing, and like I'm definitely part of the new generation, I would say. So I do have a lot to teach, and yeah, for the most part, I think my class will be good, and I look forward to doing more classes and kind of spreading the like-mindedness of just learning. And at the end of the day, it's about making your customers happy and growing your business overall.
Yeah, and being an efficient problem solver.
Yeah, problem solving. I think people ignore that a lot with locksmithing, and it's a great tool. It's a great tool to have.
So I gotta say, first time meeting you, really talking. I mean, we met before, but
Yeah. In passing, real quick.
really first time meeting you. Definitely see a lot in common with you. You're sharp. You look sharp. Not sharp like, oh, hey, look at this guy, is good looking. I mean, I see it in your eyes that you see routes, you see problems, you see solutions, and you have a fucking plan, and I like it.
Appreciate that.
It's a lot of instructors. I'll just, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna go fucking teach.
Yeah.
And that kind of drives me nuts. You're definitely part of the new generation. It's like we had to learn quick. We had to pile on the layers of information, how to leashy, how to find the codes, transponder, how to clone, how to adapt. It's like the old days. I could be speaking out of my ass. Technology didn't move as fast as it does today.
I agree.
That's why they could have a book, and it would be an edition, and it would be a year until they publish, the second edition.
Yeah.
Every day we're putting new stuff online, new things, arguing. That doesn't work. Yes, it does. Here's the proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I would say it's one thing I don't like about our community sometimes is that like it's like a pissing contest sometimes, and like my mentor is a very good locksmith. Like I owe a lot to like learning from him. Probably one of the best that I've ever met, or and I think he's very underrated. But he does it to work. He just wants to work, right? And he's just like, I don't care about a pissing contest. I just at the end of the day I want to service my customers and give good customer service. So
Yeah.
kind of want to continue that legacy on. You know, I've had a lot of good mentors. Like I said, I learned from a really old locksmith how to hand file really old Chevys and Fords and stuff like that. And I kind of try to take everything from the mentors that I've had and apply it to the future generations of like locksmithing on the overall service and quality.
And that's an invaluable skill to have too. Being
Yeah.
able to hand file a key. It's just something that a lot of new guys don't possess.
Yeah.
Don't try. If there's anything that drives me more crazy is the keyboard warriors on Facebook. Like, help me, help you.
Yeah.
Help yourself. Help me help you. Let me give you a route and try it. Don't just say, "Oh, I can't do that."
Yeah, I agree.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah,
I think
good
just
skill.
got kicked off here. I'm not sure what happened.
Might have disconnected.
Yeah, he's done disappeared on us.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think your class is going to be good. And
it'll be one of the like I've done some
problem solving and critical thinking seems to definitely be something you can do, which is what really separates people like us from your average run-of-the-mill people is the ability to solve problems, and that's what's gonna keep you relevant and take you ahead of all the rest of your competition.
Yeah, I think so too. Like for the most part, we don't really do a lot of advertisement, but we have like a lot of customers that like really just enjoy us, like us in general. We have some advertisement going on.
I literally do none.
Yeah.
I have a couple ads floating on Facebook, but it's every once in a blue moon I even get a job from Facebook. But I mean, you can ask Jared. On the phone with him earlier, my work phone just does not stop ringing.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of private jobs.
You get yourself out there, and people know you're good. They're going to refer you, and they're going to keep referring you, and you're going to keep getting, word of mouth advertising, and that's really the best, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get like quality customers like that too. Like if you just do good work, you'll get like good quality customers. I've had like some other customers. I'm just like, these are just not great customers. Like they expect the most for the least, and that's like kind of not what we aim for. We want to be able to help people, but like I don't like when someone's rude to me on the phone or they just treat me like like nothing. It's kind of like I like good quality.
Like they are your boss.
Yeah.
I just
put up a very little.
So. I'll be the first one to tell people I don't answer to anyone but myself.
Yeah. I'm kind of having.
I'll also be the first one to be the most polite to a customer up front. It's once they initiate dickhead mode.
I agree.
Then I'm an asshole.
I've helped a lot of customers.
I look like an asshole.
I've gotten easy. Like if it's an easy call, sometimes I go easy on like the pricing. I'm like, or if I can tell they're like in a rough spot. I mean, I got to eat too at the end of the day, but like sometimes I'm like, well, I could, $20 less here could really help them a lot versus me. It's good. And I've made a lot of customers off that too. Yeah, I've made a lot of customers off that, but. I think Jareth said he was back connection died.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we're a little over an hour. We can go ahead and cut it here. Hopefully everything goes well. We'll see you
I'll be there.
Definitely in Texas. Was it 10 days? Less than 10 days? 10 days? Somewhere around there?
Yeah, about 11 days, 10 to 11 days. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Less than 2 weeks. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. Jareth is saying he can't rejoin. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, thanks for coming on, and we look forward to seeing you, and hope more people sign up for your classes. So
good.
Let's get all them seats filled.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if anybody wants to talk to me while I'm at the trade show, anybody in chat, that's I'm pretty friendly. You just come up to me and hey, I was saw you on the podcast, so feel free.
Yeah, are you going to be there for the convention, right?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll have a booth as well.
Okay. Cool.
For the Locksmith Academy.
Awesome.
And we plan to be on live there too. So
awesome. Cool. I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, you want to talk to Juan, come see us.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. Well, cool, man. You have a good night. We'll see you in Texas.
Sounds good. Thanks. Oh, there he's back.
Just in time for Jareth to show up.
Yeah.
I had to restart my modem. I don't know what happened.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, we're just closing up. I appreciate you bringing me on and letting me talk about my class and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a pleasure getting to know you. I look forward to seeing you in Texas, and I want everybody who's not going to be in my class or anybody else's class who really needs beginner automotive, go check him out. He sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and pretty confident you'll learn a lot.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
All right, brother.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
have a good night.
Well, that was eventful. It's like every time we have a podcast, I lose my connection every single time. So
Yeah.
that's super annoying. Well, brother, I've enjoyed being here. I'm going to order some DoorDash and smoke some ganja. What are you about to do?
Maybe watch the rest of the football game. Chill.
Play some Minecraft?
Probably.
Mine for
You got me.
What did I miss? What did you guys talk about?
Nothing really.
Did you talk about me?
Yep. All the
No,
shit.
I knew it. Well, shit.
Like, finally, that guy's fucking gone.
Yeah,
Let's talk
it was
about it.
fun. That was a good podcast. Half the time I begin these podcasts thinking that they're going to suck, but I thought that one was pretty good. I learned a lot. He seems like an earnest person.
Yeah, I like that he does truly seem to have the capability of critical thinking and problem solving.
Yeah, problem solving.
It's somebody who I feel like is not going to reach out to somebody like me or you or anyone else and say, I need help, unless he really fucking needs help.
Yeah,
You know?
that's a good point. There are a lot of people who are industry experts who are more often than not found in the DMs of other industry experts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
And posting on Facebook, I need help. Of course, I can do that.
oh, look what car I just did, and then they've been asking you for 4 hours how to do the car privately. You know what I mean? And they never
Right.
discussed all the help they needed. Well,
and then I jump in and post a video where I screen recorded me taking control of their tablet.
Oh yeah, that's funny. We have an example of that. Well, brother, it was a fun one. I'm gonna hop off here. Until next time, and then we're gonna be in Texas. So probably next time we'll be streaming from Texas. We will air the lock picking contest publicly, and we will crown a winner of the convention. We're going to place a belt around somebody's waist. As time goes on, I get more and more, my confidence gets more and more shaky. But
you just put mine over the shoulder.
Yeah, you wish. That belt's going to go right here. Right there.
Right there.
Right there. I was telling people I want to go through TSA wearing it and set off the metal detector and be like, oh my God, I totally forgot I had it on. You know what I mean? Oh, silly me. Oh, so light. It's probably 7-pound belt.
Yeah, I like the biggest douche on the planet wearing it.
Just make everybody late.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Be awesome.
All right, Eric. Until next time.
All right, brother. We'll holler at you.
And to those who watched, thanks for joining us. We'll be back. We'll be back in fucking 10 days at the TLA. So we'll see you soon.
Yep. All right, bro.
Yep. Hey, let's just awkwardly